Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever and whenever you may be listening to this broadcast. I'm Mark Holliday. Welcome to your encouraging word for today. Hey, before we get started, you know what I want you to do? I want you to like, subscribe, share, contemplate, talk about this video, get into a healthy debate with someone about what we're getting ready to talk about today. I have a question for you today. I'm an individual that loves to keep in mind what's going on in culture compared to church. When I say church, a religious world, and compared to what's going on in our normal society and how these two meet together. My question for you today is, are the 10 Commandments relevant for today? How do they impact us? Do we need them in our society? Should it be in our schools? I remember seeing the 10 Commandments in the school growing up. We stood by them. We quoted them. We memorized them. I grew up in a household where the Bible was open on the table and you kept your bills inside the Bible. That's what my parents did. We was taught never to step over the Bible. Don't drop the Bible. Don't cuss around the Bible. And on Easter and all these special holidays, you guys remember you went to church and you heard something about the 10 Commandments. What about Charlton Heston when he made the 10 Commandments? I remember as a child sitting around the TV watching the Red Sea open up and Charlton Heston standing all robust with the 10 Commandments. Hey, that's what I want to talk about today. And I want you to contemplate something. Are the 10 Commandments relevant in your life? Has it shaped society? Also, since we moved away from a biblical foundation, when I say a biblical foundation in our society, there was a form of morality in our neighborhoods, in our schools, in the workplace, and it was because some type of reverence for the Bible or religious wording. All right. So watch this. I want to try to go through these 10 Commandments in a matter of a few minutes and just talk about it. And I want to show you how they have shaped our life in society. And are we faring better or worse since we removed ourselves from it? Now watch this. The first commandment is you shall have no other gods before me. Now, some people are saying we live in a Western society and we don't believe in worshiping other gods. See, gods are not altogether statues being set up. Watch this now. A God to you can be your car. It could be your spouse. It could be your children. It could be your job. It could be your bank account, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, meaning you put something before the Almighty God to the point where you worship it. Now, someone is saying, I'm not bowing down to it. No, but your allegiance is to it. You will put this before anything. You hear some people say this and they may take words very lightly. They say, oh, I love my car. I love this food. No, you like that car. You like this food. So God is saying this, when you put something else before him, your allegiance is to that particular thing. And when someone crossed that particular thing in your life, listen, you ready to go to war. You ready to throw some hands. Why? Because you just made that particular object or person, you made it a God. And that's sometimes we see if God cares, and he does, and he loves you, what happens if you're not careful, you will put God in a position and he will begin to remove those things from your life to the point to where you put him back in place. God don't care if you got $150 trillion in the bank or investments. He don't care how much you have as long as it don't come before him. Now, you hear people say this and they really don't know the Bible. They say the love of money is the root of all evil. The Bible does not say that. They say money is the root of all evil. No, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. My correction. And that's what God does not want us to do. He does not want us to put these things before him, thus putting or making other gods before him. Now watch this, the second commandment. You can find this in the book of Exodus. I'm going to put this on the screen around the 20th chapter. It says you shall not make any idols. Now here it is again. You say we live in a Western and civilized society. We don't make idols. Yes, we do. Back to it again. Whatever it may be. Some people build beautiful homes. Watch this. I know a guy, he was in the bodybuilding. idolized his body. Oh my God, if I may say it this way, he was stuck on himself. And when you do things like that, you make idols. Sometimes we erect beautiful buildings and edifices, and we get all ripped apart, torn apart, we fall apart when someone, quote, desecrate them. Yes, you cannot worship something that your own hands made. How do you put that much power? How do you give so much credence to something your hands made? Because if your hands made it, why would you bow down and worship it? Now watch this. No one loves a more beautiful car than I. I'm just amazed how beautifully put together a Rolls Royce is. And if you're not careful, my God, you would treat the thing as if it's a God. You will treat it as if it's an idol. Oh, don't brush up against it. Don't scratch it. Don't bring any food in the car. You know how some of you all get when you took your hard-earned money and you bought something. Listen, you should not make any idols. Thus, you should have no graven images before God. In doing so, you're breaking the commandments of God. So far, do you see how the 10 commandments kind of keep us in check? Now, I'm going to go a little bit farther in this because you're going to see how these things impact society, how it keep us civilized as a people in society. All right. Look at the third commandment. It says you should not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Now, when I was growing up, that meant you shouldn't cuss. You shouldn't say God, the remainder of the word. You shouldn't say that, but that's not what it's talking about. When it says you should not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, it's talking about when you call yourself a believer and become a representative of God, you cannot live a empty, vain, worthless, non-representing. You're not representing for God. So when you take the name of God into your life as a believer, you call yourself a believer, a Christian, a church-going person, a God-fearing person, and you don't represent the life that God has told you, you just taken the name of God in vain. And that being said, you're not representing God in the way that you should. So in other words, you're supposed to be an ambassador, an emissary for God. Likewise, I remember talking to a lawyer. He was in a vehicle with me. He was in an ambulance with me. And I was making small chit chat with him. And I was asking him, what profession were you once in? Do you practice? He said, well, I'm a lawyer. Then he corrected himself. Well, he said, I used to be a lawyer. I said, I don't understand. He said, well, you see, I don't practice anymore. You can't be something if you're not practicing it. So that opened my eyes to a lot of things. You can't call yourself a doctor, a lawyer, a believer, a good Catholic, as some of my buddies say, unless you are practicing that which you confess. And likewise, in society, if we carried a mindset of who we are and who we represent, don't you know you will treat your neighbor different? You won't be quick to disrespect someone. You won't be quick to go off the handle. You won't be quick to just act a fool, as my father used to say. Why? Because you're not taking the name of the Lord your God in vain. Thus, so you will begin to affect society. So far, the first 3 commandments that I've spoken of so far is not having any gods before me. In other words, you got a reverence for God in your life, not making any idols. In other words, you won't erect or do anything or act in a certain way that will bring reproach on God. That's the second and third commandment. Now, these other ones I'm going to go into is really going to show you how society is shaped. Now, the other one is remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. What that's simply saying is this: some people are stuck on Saturday, but what God is really emphasizing is take 6 days out of the week to work, and 1 day you need to chill. Now, God says rest. I'm 21st centralizing it for you. He said you need to rest. Some of you guys, if they offered you overtime on the job at double time, you will work your fingers down to the bone. God is saying you need to make money, but you need to take a day out and learn how to make 1 day holy to me. Worship me, get with me, get with family. In other words, rest your mind, rest your heart, rest your soul, because you can't keep focusing. So in doing this, some countries, they only have 38-hour weeks. America, they will work you until your heart stops beating, all right? So in doing so, fathers can't spend time with their children. Mother can't spend time. Married couples can't spend time with their children because they're focusing too much on the almighty dollar. Do you see how now this shapes society? And this is why we have wayward children. This is why we have children that are not, when I say tamed, they don't have the mentors. the mother and father in their life that they should have, because we're too busy spending all our time in the workplace. So he said, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Separated from the rest of the days, and worship the Lord your God. Spend time with your family. Sit around the house like we used to do and barbecue and watch a family movie together. Tend worship, things of that sort. In doing so, it makes society a better place. So I'll re-emphasize the title of this message. Are the 10 Commandments relevant today? Watch this. These are going to touch some nerves that I'm getting ready to delve into. I'm going to delve into the more, quote, media ones for the sake of time. It says, you shall not murder. Some people say that scripture says you should not kill, but it's like you should not murder is the actual Hebrew translation of it, because God knew there's a difference between killing and murder. If you're in the armed forces, you are trained to go out and to protect your country. And so therefore, it's not thou shalt not kill, it's thou shalt not murder. Murder is the malicious intent in taking someone's life when it shouldn't have been taken. But when you're going to war, you're sent out to protect your country. Someone break into your house and want to do harm to your family, and you end up taking their lives. You didn't just murder. You didn't kill them. You didn't murder them, rather. They were killed. Murder is, listen, and I'll get into this later, because you didn't like someone, you took their life. That's murder. Because they had something you wanted and you took their life, that's murder. Someone broke into your home and tried to do your family, yourself harm, and you took their life, you killed them. So God said, thou shalt not kill. I believe, well, I don't even want to get into that. You have the right to protect you and your family. All right. Now watch this. This is the 7th commandment. I skipped one, but it's very interesting what we're getting ready to go into. Thou shalt not, or you shall not commit adultery. What is adultery? I'll deal with the natural part first. Adultery is laying or bedding or having sex with someone who is not your spouse. Now, the Bible speaks about fornication, and that's sex outside of marriage. I got to teach that message on another day before you unravel after I finish this one. Adultery is a way to keep society civil. In other words, keep your hands off that woman or their man or that man, because they belong to someone else. So in doing so, we can save ourselves a lot of children who don't know their parents, don't know their father, because that act of passion was done outside of the marriage relationship. And so in doing so, God said, you shall not commit adultery. And that will go into one of the other commandments in commandment number 10, where it says, and I know I skipped 2 of them, but commandment number 10 says, you should not covet. But if you read in the Bible in Exodus 20, it just not said don't covet your neighbor's property. It says does not covet your neighbor's wife, their children, their donkey, their cattle, their farm, anything that belongs to someone else and you desire to have it. Not that you admired it and one day wish to have what they have, but you want it to the point that you would take their life. You hate them because they have it. You hate them because they're driving a nice car, living in a nice house, working on a nice job, have a beautiful wife, have a beautiful husband, children, whatever it may be. Do not want what someone else have with a malicious intent, even to the point you're willing to kill them, hurt them, or take it from them. I know I'm going over my time, but I want to keep going with this. I want to do this in one broadcast. Watch this. You shall not steal. If anything is affecting our society is these crazy laws, and I don't even mention the states, you know where they are, where you can go into a store and as long as you steal under $1,000, you can go. You have law-abiding citizens now saying, why am I working and spending hard-earned money when criminals can walk into a store and they're not to be stopped? They can walk out with whatever goods they want as long as it's under $1,000. That's a whole message in and of itself. But taking something that does not belong to you, going in a store, eating that grape off the vine because you want to see is it sweet or not and didn't pay for it, you stole. Yeah, it sounds petty, but it's stealing. I've done it. You've done it. I haven't done it before in a long time. But nevertheless, taking something that you did not pay for, taking something that does not belong to you, it is stealing. Now, I'm going to wrap it up with the last 2. It says, honor your father and mother. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. They birthed you into this world. Now, I understand there's some people who have an estranged father or mother, but it's really talking about, it's implied that your mother and father are in the household with you. And even when you come of age, there's a certain respect that you should have for your mother and father. Even if you're on bad terms, God said, listen, you don't have the right to disrespect them, even though they were not the perfect father or the perfect mother, because he said, if you respect or honor your father and mother, your life will be extended on the earth. One of the quickest ways to shorten your lifespan in the eyes of God is to disrespect your mother and father, even though we don't know the entire story for some of us, why they done what they did. But God is saying, honor them. That'll be another broadcast for another day. The last one I want to go into is the 9th commandment, and it says you should not bear false witness against your neighbor. In other words, stop lying on your neighbor. Don't get in cahoots with another neighbor to bring a false accusation against someone else, whether it's in the workplace or the family barbecue, whether it's on your block, wherever it may be. Don't tell a lie against someone else. And doing so, many people have been incarcerated, many people have been killed, many people have been put in the wrong conversation because someone bared false witness, said something they shouldn't have said, and in doing so, they have caused harm on that individual. Now, collectively, all the 10 commandments I just talked about, if these things were still operating in our society today, there will be a form of respect for one another. God gave us these commandments, not so much for us to him. Now, the first 3 is, but the rest is between one another. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, someone else in a different country. Within a perspective, these commandments are designed for us to live in harmony with one another. So to end this podcast, is the 10 commandments relevant for today? I say yes, because it shows you how to love the Lord your God and love your neighbor at the same time. All right. Listen, there's more to be said about that. That's the short list. That's the short version of it. I'm Mark Holliday. That's your encouraging word for today. Have a good day.